Hello, hello. I'm Snooky and I am joined by Smoke.
Hello, hello.
And Cherry.
Hello, hello.
And we are Hydragames69. And today we will be tackling Hello Neighbor Missing Pieces, the book illustration for the video game. And I will start reading off one half, Smoke will come in and read another half, and then Cherry will finish it off. Sound good? Sounds good to me.
Yep. Yep.
Hello, neighbor. Missing pieces. Prologue. That isn't dreaming, my grandma used to say. That's her soul getting into trouble. I was what my parents called a restless sleeper. My grandma knew better, though. It's like she was there when I closed my eyes and drifted off. When I woke up, she made me wash my hands, just like she did, first thing every morning. She'd click her tongue while she'd scrub her hands raw, picking off the water and raking them dry with a towel. You're the wandering type, she'd say sometimes. Your soul makes your body wander, makes you get lost. Then she would watch me closely as I ran off to my room to get dressed for the day. Even after I closed the door, I could hear her scold me. You stop that wandering, Boykie, or one day you won't make it home. That's when my dreams turned into nightmares. My grandma was nearly blind when she died, but she saw me clearer than anyone has ever, until I met Aaron. Chapter 1. Nicholas, now means now, Mom yells from the foot of the stairs. With the house empty, her voice bounces for me like a ball, carrying off the walls and straight through my aching head. Give me another minute, Lou. Dad's voice is quieter, but the sound of it still hurts. I know they think I was up all night doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, like playing video games and eating cheese whiz from the can. But I was actually up all night doing nothing at all. I was staring at the wall and staring at the ceiling and staring at the fly that got stuck on the tail end of the packaging tape. It came loose from the box holding my tools and three-dimensional CB radio. We're paying the movers by the hour, Jay. Either he comes now or the new tenants are going to have to adopt him. Time to go, Narf, Dad says as I trudge downstairs, and I smile because Dad's crying. In her own way, I think Mom's crying too. Yikes, Dad says after Mom kisses me a little too hard on the head and walks out the door. What? That smile is fooling no one. It looks creepy, he says. I stop, and now we can both relax. I know this is bad, he says, rubbing the back of his head. Defensively bad. It's just a few states over, I say, repeating what Mom has said every day for the past 3 months. That's light years away, says Dad. Think the giant space alien overlord that someone is finally telling the truth. Yeah, my legion of friends begged me not to go. They made me promise I'd write, I say. And a smile slips from Dad's face because he knows I'm faking it. This just wasn't your city, he says. The Ravenbrooks will be your city. He closed the door to the house that never really felt like my home, just like the last one didn't and the one before that. Goodbye, Red House, Mom says as she eyes it in the rear view mirror, following the morning truck a little too closely down the long driveway. She gets teary-eyed and Dad gives her shoulder a little squeeze. Ravenbrook will be our city, he says again, this time so Mom can hear it, and she looks about as convinced as I feel. We drive 715 miles in near silence, following the lie that Ravenbrook really isn't that far from Charleston, just like we swallowed the lie that the blue house in Ontario was any different from the brown house in Oakland, or the yellow house in Reddington, or the beige house in Cordalian. The lies get a little bigger with each move, with each realization that towns don't need newspaper editors since they don't have newspapers to edit anymore. But landlords still need rent, no matter what. So what was one more move? One more town? One more new school and one more new house that wouldn't really be ours anyway. I only had to get used to it for a little while. This time maybe I wouldn't even unpack. Alright, Smoke, you're up next.
Alright, my turn. On to chapter 2. The new house is turquoise. I call it more of a blue-green, Mom says, tilting her head like knew that would change the color. Teal, Dad offers, it used to be a very popular color for exteriors. Dad knows nothing about exterior or colors for that matter. That's the thing about newspaper editors, though. They can sound like experts on just about anything. Wasn't it white in the pictures, Mom asked? The moving truck rumbles up the other quiet street, called, I swear, to the aliens' friendly port. Then the driver leans out of the window. This one yours? The turquoise one? Mom drops her head. I give up. Dad nods to the driver. The turquoise one. The truck reverses and backs into the driveway. And just like that, were Jay, Luana, and Nick Ross of 909 Friendly Court, Ravenbrook. This fall, I'll be an 8th grader at Ravenbrook Middle School, where I'll excel in science and English, struggle in math and Spanish. I'll be that short kid in the Beatles t-shirt, whom everyone mistakenly calls Nate, with the brown hair that sticks up on the left side no matter how much butter I use to flatten it. I'll eat yellow oat pudding pads every day and clear the lunch table because there's no reason why I shouldn't. And I'll spend the rest of the lunch period taking things apart and putting them back together. It's a nice treat, Dad says, of the most pristine lawn. He leaves shuttered windows. The paint is a little faded. The car's area a little older. But we've lived on worse spots tonight and see a cat working around the flower bed across the street. Cats feel like a good sign. It's quiet, Mom says, and it's hard to know if that's praise or worry in her voice. There's no llama farm, I say. And my parents look at me. I saw a sign, I explained. Then we're quiet again. Well, Dad says that's why I think I've turned a ho-ho. Mom always complaining that Dad never lost his childhood sweet. But there's a grown-up message with his sugar back. Once you figure out the pattern, it's pretty easy to tell how Dad feels. Ho-hos means he's stopped being done or the street of choices when he's back. Pounding down his views. Time to celebrate. The real telltale cakes. Telltale cakes are the yellow ones. Cedar and mean only one thing. Dad said Twinkies are for when he's pondering life's big question. The alien overlord in the sky question? Mom sighed. say you've had 3 already. But back here, I can't hear you. It's so low a clock. I start to follow them into the house, but trying to take in the quiet of the street a little bit longer. Maybe if I hang out long enough, one of the cats will come over. I take a seat on the curb in front of our two boys' house and pull the long blade of grass up onto the side of it. I'm lost in thought of my latest project. Now the whole catalog. I counted it in the box by the brand house. 5 different catalogs all in blocks. I've managed to pick 2 of them, but the others are giving me trouble. Locks are my new project, especially lock picking. It feels like I'm picking something from how actually deconstructing it, like I'm discovering the key from the inside out. I tried to explain it to Mom once, but I don't think she understood. She's more into stuff you can see under a microscope. I think you're amazing, Nikki, she said, then tilted my chin up to meet her stern gaze. Just use your powers for good. That's the warning she attaches to pretty much everything I do. And a reminder that even the smartest people can make dumb decisions. Movement from across the street breaks my trance, and at first I think it's one of the cats, but I don't see them anymore. All I see is a certain fellow on the second story of the house across the street. I stare harder, but I can't see whoever moved the curtain. All I see is the reflection of a twisted oak tree that particularly touches the window. It looms so close. Someone was watching, though. That's a feeling you just know, like when the air smells different before a storm. I watch the window for a little bit longer until I get sick of waiting. Stare at me all you want, I tell the empty window. Nothing to see here. I stand to go inside, already folding on my decision not to unpack. Maybe just the box with the padlock, I think. Then I hear a tiny mewing sound behind me. One of the all-gray cats with blue eyes. He looks like he's been rolling in campfire ash all night. Even his whiskers look dusty. He winds his body around my leg, making a figure 8 and circling my other ankle. On his side is a greasy black streak, like he's been sidelining up to a newly waxed car tire. Hey cat, I say. I've never been great with names. This mew is response. You live across the street? Another mew. We'll tell Creeper up there that it's not polite to stare. I reach for his head to stretch behind the ears, but then he locks his eyes with me, and something changes. The fur on his tail and spine stand on him, and his ears fall back against his skull. Eyes widen. He's suddenly a different cat. A quick hiss and a swipe, and my new friend leaves along. Spines drag along my hand and wrist, taking my hand away. I'm about to shoot him off when I see him staring up at the window across the street, and this time the curtain is pulled back. A face! I think it's a face. Covers at the edge of the frame, not exactly hiding, not in front and center either. Maybe it's the glare of the sun off the glass. But the face is so white, I'm nearly positive it's just a light picture or something, I'm saying. But no. Those are eyes and a nose. The cat hisses again, still staring at the window. Then his fur lowers, his ears pull forward, and he stands from his crouch, returning his focus on me. I look back at the window and see the same billowing curtain as before. No face, no glare, just fabric behind glass. I don't think you and I are going to be friends, I say to the cat, or maybe to the face in the window. Either way, the cat flicks across the street to his flower bed, and I retreat to my new house to see which locks are easier to pick. I wake up and forget where I am for a minute. One of my least favorite things about moving. The room doesn't smell like mine yet, and Charleston is like a mix of salted meat and vanilla air freshener. Here it smells the way main library and all purity all smells like old wood and a little bit of mold. My sheets are soaked with sweat, and I dig a new shirt out of an open box before giving up. I sleep for the rest of the night. Not a chance I'll be able to shake the nightmare. I never can. I was in the grocery store again, sitting in the shopping cart, my feet dangling high above the floor. It was cold and dark, and the shelves of canned foods towered so high above me. I was afraid they were going to fall and crush me, like always. I wanted to get out of the cart to find help or find out where I was, like always. I was afraid to move. It's weird. In the dream, I'm frozen. In real life, I would give anything for my family to stay in one place for once. Then I remember that the scariest place my dreams take me is to the grocery store, and I say that I probably didn't try to make too much sense out of them. I drag my locks to the deep reduced sill that faces the street. It's the coolest part of my new room. This built-in bench that creates the perfect spot to sit and stare out at the rest of Friendly Court. I can see all the way to the highway if I face the right direction. For now, though, all I see is the house across the street, which is fun because I know I'm the only one up at. I turn my watch over on my desk. 3:15. I press my hand over my eyes and up my forehead, massaging my temples. It's going to be a long day. I unearth my pig set and get to work on the log that's been giving me the most trouble. With my flashlight, I try to see as far into the hole as I can, but it's a classic shrouded shackle, and I can see only so far. I've been using the Tarzan wrench to hold the plug in place, but the half-diamond pig is too rigid to make it very far through those angles. All pig, I say underneath my breath, rummaging through the worn leather case of tools I brought from some kid just outside of Charleston who seemed a little too eager to get rid of it. There you are, I say to the titanium ally stick with the circle tip. I start to work the pick through the lock and make it around one corner, then another, until the pin starts to lift. Almost there, I say, the familiar rush of pressing the lock beginning to wash over me. Maybe this day won't be so bad after all. Then a scream cuts through the night air. I drop the knot of locks on the floor, and the crash echoes through the house. But I'm not focused on that. I'm staring to hear the last echoes of the scream that should have woken the entire neighborhood. Not a single light on the street flickers, though. Not one head pops out their front door to see what's going on. The voice was high and rigid, At first it sounded like a kid, but then I'm not sure. I've heard something pretty convincing ghosts make that scream sound. And there was that llama farm we saw on the way into town. So I hold so still. I forgot to blink, and my eyes water until I rub them. When my vision clears, I'm staring once again at the window on the second story of the house across the street. This time, I'm sure I see a face staring back at me. You again, I whisper, and I half expected to hear an answer. Instead, the head moves closer to the window, eventually passing against the fan. Hands cupped around the face like binoculars, and I do the same. I'm staring at a boy who looks my age. It might be the glare of the moonlight or the contrast against the night sky, but the kid's hair looks almost white, like she got struck by lightning in an old sci-fi movie. We stand there, hands shielding our faces, staring for a little strangely long time. And just when I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable with this game of chicken, he slaps his hand against the window. The yellow sheet of notebook paper glowing in front of the circle lightning of a flashlight. So you know it's not polite to stare. He heard me talking to the cat. I take my hand from the window and back up a little, looking for the string to pull the shade. Before I find it though, the kid drops the note and flickers his light to get my attention. Then he slaps another note to the window. Then he smiles. The ball pick was a good choice. I look down at my kit and the knot of locks feelings found out. Instead of being embarrassed, I feel relieved. I rummage for a piece of paper and a marker we've been using to label boxes, I think, for a second time, and hold my flashlight up to my own message board needs something together. The kid smiles and he ducks his head, showing me a full head of lightning white hair, and holds up a new paper. Come over tomorrow. I nod and he draws his curtain close, leaving me standing there with my flashlight in one hand and a marker in the other. I stare at the house across the street, which is definitely bigger than ours, but I'm not sure. I'd call it nicer. From the chipped paint on the porch to the cracked driveway to the gutters separating at the seams, everything looks like it's in need of repair. Upon closer look, there's a little half door on the side of the house that looks like it might lead to a root cellar. But it's impossible to say because if it is a door, it's covered over with so many wooden boards and bent nails. There's no way it could ever open. If that weren't enough, metal catalogs gleam from hinges between the wooden boards, daring someone to try to gain entry. Overkill doesn't even begin to cover it. I shake my head and go back to bed, staring up at the ceiling. The sound of my dad's words swirling around in my brain. Reverend Brooke will be your city. Maybe it will be. There's the window, still like a bench, and a kid across the street who knows the difference between a half diamond and a ball pit. There's a newspaper that everyone still subscribes to, and a university where mom's giant science brain is needed. I'm almost asleep again before I remember why I was looking out the window in the first place. I fell into an uneasy sleep was the memory of a scream that no one but me seemed to hear. All right, Cherry, take your next.
All right, it's my turn now. Chapter 3. The kid across the street is named Aaron Peterson, and his house is made of doors. Not really, but it feels that way. The first time I go over, I open 3 doors before I finally find the bathroom. Then I go to the kitchen for a glass of water and get lost trying to find his room. Don't feel bad. Everybody gets a little turned around at first, he tells me after I finally find my way back. Then he shrugs. Old houses are weird. I nod like I agree. But I've lived in old houses. The turquoise house is old, too. None of them have been like this one, though. With side staircases that lead to little half landings and some doors that don't even open. And I was 7. We lived in North Carolina for a few months while my dad was still a beat reporter. My mom, always up for a good ghost story, took me to the Winston's mansion, where we got to tour the house that was perpetually obviously built by the widow of the famous Winston rifle maker. The story went that someone told her she and her family were being haunted by the thousands of people who lost their lives to her husband's gun company. She kept the building working day and night on a house. She kept the builders working day and night on a house she would never finish building, so the ghost couldn't find her in the maze of a mansion. The clearest memory I took away from the tour was a door that opened to a 3-story drop. I imagine a sleepy 7-year-old me staying in that twisting house, walking in the middle of the night, looking for some place to pee, and dropping to my desk after pulling the wrong knob. We don't have one of those, Aaron tells me when I relay my memory from the next day. At least I don't think we do. He says it so casually. I don't think he realizes how strange it is that he could live in a house and not know where every door leads. At least, at first it seemed strange to me. Then I learned that there are some places in Aaron's house that are off limits. The basement's kind of a wreck, he says. So now he's less casual about it. Though he seems uncomfortable. I think back on the boarded up door on the side of their house. The one I thought that led to a root cellar. Aaron doesn't have white hair as it turns out. That was a trick of the flashlight. It's one of the many weird aspects of the night he introduced himself. It's just light brown, but that's about the only ordinary quality about Aaron. He's tall, in fact. At first I thought maybe he was older than me. He's my age. Though he acts like he's 50. It's like the giant alien overlord sucked all the childhood out of him, left behind a 12-year-old adult. It's not that he doesn't smile or joke. He's just as purpose. He's also better at picking locks than me. He can find his way into the tiniest keyhole. His hands steady and precise. But that isn't why he's good. It's his patience that makes him better than me. He can sit in a turn and twitch the pig a million meters, feel for the moment, then guide the tool through a different path until, boom, the lock springs free, and the door opens. I should have gone with the rake, I say, angry at myself for not springing the hall closet upstairs that particular afternoon. I'll give you an easier one next time, he says, punching my shoulder a little too hard. I punch him back harder, and don't be a what? Broad shoulders and an angrily sweater emerged from a door behind us that I swear to the aliens I didn't even know was a door. Dad, this is Nikki from across the street. Nikki from across the street, Mr. Peterson said, pinching an eye of his curled mustache like a cartoon villain. And he looks like he could be a villain, with his wide eyes hooded by thick eyebrows and forearms better than my legs. Not for his unmistakable dad uniform, violet blue sweater, brown pants, high socks, I'd be half a way across the street by now. He didn't ask me a question, but he looked at me like he's waiting on an answer. We were just picking locks in your house, fighting, bruising. Peterson leans over and puts his hands on his knees, large shoulders framing the face that's now 6 inches from mine. His concavo mustaches particularly touch my cheek. I can smell spearmint on his breath. Well, Nikki from across the street, he says, and I clench my teeth together to keep them from chattering. He leans in even closer, and I think I'm going to faint. How would you like to stay for dinner? He pauses and waits for me to process what wasn't the threat it sounded like. And then his mustache lifts to reveal a row of brilliant white teeth. He leans back, tilts his head, and bellows a laughter that shakes the hallway. I nearly puked myself. I started to laugh, too, because I have no idea what else to do. I feel Aaron grab my arm and drag me down the stairs, muttering something about, don't you know why you have to be so weird? And shoves me down the hallway so I can gather myself and wonder if he was calling his dad weird or me. I started to head down a different hallway before Aaron redirects me. Just one more rabbit hole to fall to in his winding house. In the kitchen, Aaron's 10-year-old sister is holding a seriously sharp knife over a yellow onion while Mrs. Pearson smokes a cigarette with her back turned. Aaron told me his mom teaches first grade at Ravenbrook Elementary. Chris, Maya, give me that. Aaron lunges towards the cutting board and catches the handle of the knife. Just as Maya begins to pierce the wobbly onion against the wood. Mom asked me to, she says definitively, but she looks relieved. You know I'm a carrier, Mrs. Peterson says, exhaling a steam of smoke through the kitchen window screen. I have freakishly strong eyes, Maya says, her pride returning after being stripped of her duties. She's Aaron's polar opposite, with light red hair like her mother's. She shares her mother's small frame too, with stubby little legs that make her look thinner than she should. Aaron slices the onion into fine rings and sets the knife and cutting board in the middle of the kitchen aisle, while Maya wipes the onion skins from where it got caught on her lot. Thanks, baby, Mrs. Peterson says, throwing out her cigarette and planting a kiss on top of Aaron's head, then one on my head, and turned away when my face gets hot. and for some reason Maya's face gets red too. Mrs. Peterson lets me call her Dinah. It feels so weird. I've just stopped calling her anything at all. I guess she's pretty, but she reminds me so much of my mom. It's nuts. I've tried to get Mom to invite the Peterson over for dinner, but Mom's formal about stuff like that. They should invite us first, Mom says, and that's that. Hamburgers for dinner tonight, Mrs. Peterson says. You boys planning on sticking around, or are you robbing banks this evening? I turned to face the wall again because I had a dream last night that I cracked a bank vault. And the rush I felt was so strong I felt a little awkward when I woke up. I'm pretty sure that's not using my powers for good. Who's robbing banks? Mr. Peterson says, emerging once again from whatever kind of shadow and hulking guy in an angrily can hide in. Oh, Mrs. Peterson says, peering into her mixing bowl. We might not have enough burgers if you stay, Nikki. Aaron, you'd have to run to the store for some more. Betty, Mrs. Tillman stopped selling meat, remember? Aaron says. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that, says Mrs. Peterson. Aaron turns to me with a wicked smile. We should get you a tasty Prologue wheat and tofu burger, though. Maybe a cocoa powder granola bar for dessert. Whatever you love those bars, Maya says, curling her lip. It's true, Aaron says, leaning towards. They make you fart. Maya dissolves into giggles. A lot. What's the verdict on dinner? Mr. Peterson asks, bringing us back on the topic. The boys in or out? We're eating at Nikki's, Aaron says, and when I look at him, he widens his eyes. Right, at my house, I say, not much better at lying than Aaron is. Mr. Peterson examines us from across the kitchen aisle. Maya swoops in to save the day, though, bringing us back to a forgotten topic. Everyone thinks that Jesse James was the best bank robber there was. It's because he was a show-off, but he couldn't have done any of that without his brother, Frank. People always forget the siblings. I'm sure you could rob a bank just as successful as your brother, Mouse. Mrs. Peterson says, sliding the patties into a perfect row on the cutting board. She holds the meat tenderizer high above her head and brings it down with startling strength, moving from patty to patty with unsettling enthusiasm. Maya rolls her eyes, but I can tell she's like when her mom calls her Mouse. Just like I don't mind that my dad still calls me Narf. My parents claim that's how I used to say my name before I could say Nikki, which is weird. Because it doesn't even sound the same. But whatever, it sucks. So now I'm Narf. And from some of the nicknames I've heard out there, it could be a whole lot worse. And I'm sure your brother wouldn't dream of taking credit for your accomplishment, Mrs. Peterson adds, winking at Aaron. She brings the meat hammer down on the patty again, and I jump before I can catch myself. Remember, family makes you stronger, Mrs. Peterson says. Isn't that right, honey? Mrs. Peterson turns her head to the side to address her husband. Her eyes never meet his. Mr. Peterson just stands there for a second, surveying his family across the kitchen aisle before moving to the sink to wash his hands. Not necessarily, he says with his back turn to us all. And from the way he says it, I can tell that all he wants to say on the subject. Either Mrs. Pearson doesn't notice or she doesn't care. Oh, don't be a grub. You don't really mean that. Mrs. Pearson flashes me a smile and rolls her eyes, which might be convincing if her hands weren't shaking so hard she has to set down the meat tenderizer. Mr. Pearson scrubs his fingernails tactlessly at the sink. I sneak a glance at Aaron and he's watching his dad too. Maya's moved to the other side of the aisle and she's fidgeting with the ties on one of her bar stools cushions. I'm waiting for the punchline, for Mr. Pearson to whip around and bark the insane laugh from under his mustache, but he doesn't turn. Mrs. Pearson tries a joke. Well, I'm afraid you're stuck with us, darling. We're Pearsons to the bone. Now Mr. Pearson does turn around so fast that the towel in his hand makes the whip sound in the air. You know what's so interesting about bones, Dinah? He says with a smile that's way different than the one he cracked in the hallway upstairs. This one bears both rows of teeth and they don't part. He just talks right through them. I moved a little closer to Aaron. I think I do too. Not all of them are necessary. I reaches for Aaron's hand and he squeezes hers back. It's true, Mr. Pearson continues, and though no one can contest it, it's a marvel what the human body can survive without. Pluck one bone out, and the body keeps on living. Mrs. Pearson is shaping the hamburger patties, and she's been working on the same patty since her husband started talking. I don't think she's thinking about hamburgers anymore. She closes her eyes, and I want to close mine too, but I'm afraid to look away. There's just one bone you can't live without, the funny bone. Mr. Pearson runs to Maya and scoops her up by the waist, and for a panicked second, I think he's actually going to hurt her. But she starts giggling immediately, and her giggle turns to a frantic laugh, and I see that he's not hurting her at all. He's tickling her ribs. Where's that bone? Where's that funny bone? He says, suddenly playful. And I think I misconstrued the whole scene. So I look at Aaron and Mrs. Pearson, who are sharing a look I can't quite understand. It's solemn though, nothing like the exchange Mr. Pearson is having with Maya as he throws her over his shoulder and begins to spin her around. Let's go, Aaron says to me underneath his breath, and I don't argue. Once we're outside, we don't say a word until we're at least 3 blocks from our street and halfway to the train tracks on the other side of the woods that border Ravenbrooks. The rain from earlier has stopped, but the ground still swishes when we walk. Where are we going? I ask Aaron when I feel like it's okay to ask him anything else. You'll see, he says, but doesn't look at me. There's something I want to show you.
Alright, girls, I think that's enough today. We'll end it here. We have been Hydragames69. Until next time.